Welcome back. Today, we're heading to Armenia. Ancient, beautiful, and full of surprises. With just $50, I'll show you how far your money can go. Eating, sleeping, and exploring on a true shoestring. This isn't just a guide, it's proof that adventure doesn't need a big budget. Ready to discover hidden gems, incredible food, and centuries-old culture? Let's dive in. First stop, food. Let's see what Armenia's got cooking. My first mission in Yerevan? Simple. Find out if you can truly eat like a king without spending a fortune. As I wandered through the city's winding streets, the aroma of fresh bread and sizzling meat drifted through the air, making my stomach rumble with anticipation. I set out to discover the best local food on a budget, determined to taste the heart of Armenia without breaking the bank. Yerevan is full of hidden gems, tiny eateries and bustling food stalls, where locals gather for a quick bite or a leisurely meal. After a bit of exploring, I stumbled into a cozy family-run spot tucked away from the main road. The warm glow from inside and the sound of laughter drew me in. This was exactly the kind of place where you know the food is made with love and tradition. The owner, Anna, greeted me with a smile that felt like a hug. She insisted I try a true Armenian feast, promising flavors I'd never forget. Her pride in her country's cuisine was infectious. We began with a simple yet vibrant tomato and cucumber salad, drizzled with a touch of olive oil and sprinkled with fresh herbs. The vegetables were so crisp and flavorful, it was clear they'd been picked that morning. Next came basturma, thin slices of spiced, air-dried beef. The aroma alone was mouth-watering, and each bite delivered a punch of savory, peppery flavor that lingered on my tongue. Then, steaming dolma arrived at the table, grape leaves stuffed with a fragrant mixture of rice, herbs, and tender meat. Served with a dollop of tangy Matson yogurt, every bite was a perfect balance of comfort and zest. Sharing these dishes with locals, I realized that every bite was a taste of Armenian tradition, passed down through generations. The atmosphere was lively, with laughter and conversation filling the air. The main event was korovats, Armenian barbecue. Juicy pork, charred just right, and smoky grilled vegetables were served alongside pillowy soft lavish bread. The flavors were bold, earthy, and utterly satisfying. To complete the meal, Anna poured me a glass of local red wine, rich, full-bodied, and bursting with character. The table was overflowing with food, and the portions were so generous I could barely finish. As I leaned back, completely satisfied, I braced myself for the bill. Surely, a meal this grand would come at a steep price. But when the check arrived, I was stunned. $18 for a royal meal, less than what I'd pay for a single dish back home. I left a generous tip, grateful for the hospitality and amazed at the value. It felt good to support a family business that poured so much heart into their food. Armenia's hospitality and food culture truly blew me away. Here, meals are about more than just eating. They're about sharing, connecting, and celebrating life. With $32 left in my pocket, I'd already experienced one of the best meals of my life. The sense of satisfaction went far beyond the food. In Armenia, you don't need much to eat like royalty, just a bit of curiosity and a willingness to try something new. The rewards are unforgettable. Full, happy, and inspired, I stepped out into the cool Yerevan evening, ready to find a place to sleep and reflect on the day's discoveries. If food could be this affordable and memorable, I felt optimistic about what the rest of my journey would bring. Armenia had already set the bar high. The adventure was just beginning, and I couldn't wait to see what surprises Yerevan had in store next. Next up, accommodation. After a long day of exploring, there's nothing quite like the anticipation of finding a place to rest your head. In a new city, every decision feels a little more meaningful, especially when you're traveling on a tight budget. With $32 left in my pocket, I knew I had to be strategic. I spent some time scrolling through hostel booking apps, comparing reviews, prices, and locations. I wanted somewhere with character, a place that felt like more than just a bed for the night, but also a hub for meeting people and sharing stories. That's when I stumbled upon Yerevan Friends Hostel. The reviews raved about its cleanliness, central location, and the friendly atmosphere. At just $11.50 a night, it seemed almost too good to be true. I quickly booked 2 nights for $23, which left me with just $9 to my name. It was a little nerve-wracking, but I felt a sense of relief knowing I had a roof over my head and a safe place to keep my things. The moment I walked in, I was greeted by a burst of color and laughter. The common room was alive with travelers from all over the world, sharing stories, making plans, and swapping tips about Armenia. Levin, the hostel manager, welcomed me with a warm smile. He handed me a map and circled his favorite hidden bakeries, bustling markets, and the best local routes for exploring Yerevan on foot. His advice felt like a secret key to the city. My dorm was simple, but surprisingly comfortable. Each bed had its own reading light and power outlet, and the lockers were big enough for all my gear. The bathrooms were spotless, a small luxury when you're on the road. In the common area, I found myself drawn into conversations with travelers from every corner of the globe. We traded stories about our journeys, shared tips, and even made plans to explore the city together the next day. Hostels like this have a special magic. They turn solo trips into shared adventures, where strangers become friends over cups of tea or late-night games of cards. That night, the hostel organized a casual dinner. We gathered around a long table, sharing laughter, local cognac, and homemade Armenian dishes. It was the kind of night that makes you forget you're far from home. For just $11.50 a night, I got so much more than a bed. I found a community, a sense of belonging, and a place where every traveler's story mattered. After a day of feasting and finding a home, my total spend was just $41. It was proof that you don't need a big budget to have rich experiences. Armenia proved you can travel well on very little. The city felt open and welcoming, and every dollar stretched further than I'd imagined. With a safe, friendly base, I felt ready to dive deeper into Yerevan's culture, history, and food, all on a micro-budget. The next challenge? To see just how much of this vibrant city I could experience with only $9 left in my pocket. With $9 left, I joined a free walking tour. Local guides, real stories, and you tip what you can. Our guide, Mariam, brought Yerevan's history to life, from Republic Square's pink stone to hidden Soviet mosaics. We climbed the Cascade Complex, explored free art galleries, and took in breathtaking views of Mount Ararat. The city's layers, ancient, Soviet, modern, unfolded with every step. After 3 hours, I tipped Mariam $7.75, worth every cent. I visited the Genocide Memorial, a moving, free experience that deepened my understanding of Armenia. For under $8, I'd had a guided tour, museum visit, and a powerful history lesson. With just over $1 left, I wondered, could I see Armenia's ancient wonders on what remained? Time to get creative? With just $1.25 left in my pocket, the idea of taking a day trip to Garni and Gegard felt like a distant dream. I stared at my nearly empty wallet, wondering if I'd have to spend the day wandering Yerevan instead. But sometimes, the best adventures begin when you have almost nothing to lose. That's when Levin, a local I'd met at my hostel, suggested marshrutkas. Those shared minivans that are the lifeblood of Armenian travel. They're cheap, reliable, and a true window into local life. Suddenly, the impossible seemed possible. I hopped on the Yerevan metro for just 25 cents, feeling the rumble of the old Soviet-era train beneath my feet. The stations were clean and efficient, and the ride itself was an experience. Locals chatting, students with backpacks, and the city whirring by outside. At the bus station, I squeezed into a marshrutka bound for Garni, paying only 65 cents. The ride was bumpy and crowded, but the views out the window were unforgettable. Rolling green hills, distant mountains, and tiny villages dotting the landscape. Every jolt and turn felt like part of the adventure. When I arrived in Garni, I realized I couldn't afford the temple entrance fee. But that didn't stop me. Instead, I followed a winding path down into the gorge, where the Symphony of the Stones awaited, a surreal, free natural wonder, with towering basalt columns that looked like a giant's organ pipes. The air was fresh, and the scenery was absolutely breathtaking. From below, I gazed up at the Garni temple, perched high above the valley. Seeing it from this angle, framed by wildflowers and rocks, felt like discovering a secret that most tourists miss. It was a reminder that sometimes the best views are the ones you stumble upon by accident. With no money left for a taxi, I decided to try hitchhiking to Gegard Monastery. To my surprise, it took only minutes before a friendly local pulled over and offered me a ride. Armenians are known for their hospitality, and today, I experienced it firsthand. Gegard Monastery, carved right into the cliffs, is a place that feels both ancient and alive. The best part? It's free to enter, so even a traveler on a shoestring can explore its wonders. Inside, I wandered through cool, shadowy chapels, their walls covered in centuries-old carvings and khachkars. As I explored, an Armenian choir began to sing, their voices echoing hauntingly through the stone chambers. The sound was so pure and moving, it gave me goosebumps. In that moment, surrounded by history and music, I felt a deep sense of peace. The monastery seemed to radiate a quiet strength, a reminder of Armenia's enduring spirit. As the sun began to set, I hitchhiked back to the main road and caught a marshrutka, heading toward Yerevan, spending my very last coins on the fare. The sky was painted with gold and pink, and I felt a sense of accomplishment I hadn't expected. Against all odds, I'd managed a full-day trip, visiting two of Armenia's most iconic sites for less than $1. It was proof that adventure doesn't have to be expensive. This day taught me that resourcefulness, curiosity, and a willingness to connect with others matter far more than money when you travel. Armenia rewards those who are open to its people and its surprises, and sometimes, the best stories come from the days when you have almost nothing but an open mind. My budget gone, I explored Vernissage Market, Yerevan's open-air museum of crafts, art, and history. I wandered among hand-carved khachkars, vibrant ceramics, Soviet relics, and silver jewelry. Artisans shared stories and demonstrated their craft, proud of their heritage. Even without money, the market was a feast for the senses. Carpets, paintings, and the soulful sound of the duduk. You don't need to buy to enjoy. Just being there is a gift. As I left, a kind vendor pressed a hand-embroidered bookmark into my hand. For memory of Armenia. This small act of generosity summed up my trip. The real treasures are the connections and kindness you find. My most precious souvenir cost nothing, but meant everything. My $50 Armenian adventure is over, but the memories are priceless. I feasted, found a home, explored history, and journeyed to ancient wonders, all on a shoestring. The true wealth of Armenia? Its people, their warmth, and the stories they share. I hope this inspires you to travel boldly, no matter your budget. If you enjoyed this journey, subscribe and share your own travel dreams below. Thanks for joining me. Until next time, travel safe and stay curious. Armenia proved the best experiences can't be bought, they're discovered.